Good morning and welcome to Daily Devotions with Pastor Joe. Today we're going to be looking at Psalm 17. It's a bit of a lengthy passage, 15 verses, but we've done longer. Hopefully we'll get through this and get some reason out of it here this morning. I love looking into the Psalms because they have a lot of encouragement. They have a lot for us to learn, a lot of things that are good observations, generally by David, as most of them are titled in some way that they're a prayer of David or a psalm of David or a song of David or a poem of David. And here this says it's a prayer of David. And the title here on my program says it's in the shadow of your wings, which is an adequate, at least adequate title. Right at the beginning, I'd encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with friends or on social media if you have anybody you know who would like to hear a discussion about the Bible. All right. Psalm 17, verse 1, a prayer of David. Hear the right, O Lord, attend unto my cry. Give ear unto my prayer that goeth out, not out of feigned lips. Let my sentence come forth from thy presence. Let thine eyes behold the things that are equal. Thou hast proved mine heart. Thou hast visited me in the night. Thou hast tried me, and shalt find nothing. I am purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. Concerning the works of men, by the word of thy lips, I have kept me from the paths of the destroyer. Hold up my goings in thy path, that my footsteps slip not. Very good. Verse 6, I have called upon thee, for thou wilt hear me, O God. Incline thine ear unto me, and hear my speech. Show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by thy right hand them which put their trust in thee, for those that rise up against them. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings, from the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. They are enclosed in their own fat. With their mouth they speak proudly. Verse 11, they have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in secret places. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword, from men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. You'll notice several different colors here as we're discussing different points and different ideas about what's being said here. Of course, this prayer begins out with David asking God to hear him. He does this very often. He says, I'm crying unto you, Lord, hear my prayer. Give ear unto my prayer, hear my cry. Listen to me and hear what I have to say. And of course, knowing God will be listening to him, because as David calls out to God, he's putting his trust in him, knowing God always hears his prayers. He says, thou hast proved mine heart. He's saying, God, you've looked at my heart. You've visited me in the night. You've tried me, and you found nothing, and you will find nothing. I am purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. I wish more people would live this way, live like what David's saying here. I am purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. By the word of thy lips, he says in verse 4, I have kept me from the path of the destroyer, and hold up my goings in thy paths, that my footsteps slip not. Thou hast proved mine heart. So has God looked at your heart lately and proven that you are clear before him? Has he tried you and found that you're pure as silver? Has he looked into your heart to find if there's any transgression and found that there's none? Has he seen that you really have purposed, as David did, that your mouth will not transgress, whether it be by words that ought not to be spoken, by lies, by whatever other words might be spoken with your mouth? And that's where David is saying here. A lot of the commentators are saying this most likely was written during a time when David was fleeing from Saul, and so he's talking about Saul later on when he's talking about the wickedness. But he's purposed, and we know this throughout David's life from all of what we read from David, that he made it a very clear point not to speak against Saul specifically, to do his best not to specifically call out Saul and consider him to be wicked, because he was set in place as king by God, and he said, you know what, God put him there. I'm not going to be the one who who calls him out on all of these things. And so he says, I will not transgress with my mouth. I'm not going to say something that later I'll have to apologize for or that I'm going to regret. Being very careful. Now, I wish we would be that way. I wish we would be more careful to consider the words we're about to speak before we tell them to people, that we wouldn't want to offend, that it wouldn't be our purpose to offend and hurt people. I understand that we need to call sin, sin. I understand that we as Christians need to make it clear where we stand on things, but there's also room for us to be careful in the way that we present things to people. And there is room for us to be careful to allow God to have time to work on someone's heart without us interfering and introducing our own nose in the situation. He says, by the words of thy lips, by God's word, I have kept me from the paths of the destroyer. Verse 4. So verse 4 is saying very clearly to me, at least, and I think it's a good lesson to learn, that by following God's words, the words that have come from God's lips, spoken by God, breathed by God, that I have kept me from the paths of the destroyer. I've kept me from destruction. And over again we read, especially through the Psalms, that by following God's word we're kept from destruction, we're kept from evil, we're kept from losing out. Hold up my goings in thy paths, that my footsteps slip not. He's saying, God, I really want to follow your way perfectly. I don't want to slip to the left, to the right. I don't want to fall. I don't want to lose out. I want to follow your way all the way through. Hold up my goings in thy paths. Help me to continue to live the way you have asked me to live. And then he says in verses 6 and 7, I've called upon thee, for thou wilt hear me, O God. Incline thine ear unto me, and hear my speech. Once again, putting his faith in God, that God is going to hear his word. Verse 7, show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by thy right hand them which put their trust in thee from those that rise up against them. And God does indeed save and protect us from those who would rise up against us and cause destruction upon us. And David experienced this many times in his life, that God protected him so strongly. And we can experience the same through his marvelous loving kindness, his salvation. God will hear us, God will protect us, God will save us from those who would want to destroy us. Keep me and hide me, he says. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Not saying that he is to be God's apple of God's eye, but saying, as you would keep the most precious thing, God, keep me. Hide me under the shadow of your wings. And this, I love how it calls forward to the New Testament. Jesus cries for Jerusalem and says, if only you would have known and would have turned to me, I would have hid you under my wings like a mother hen hides her chickens. But it's hide me under the shadow of your wings. Keep me safe. Keep me protected. Keep me hidden from evil. And that's something we ought to be crying out to God for every day. Keep me hidden from evil. For the wicked oppress me, the deadly enemies compass about me, but they're enclosed in their own fat, in their own substance. I don't think it's meaning their own literal body fat. I think it's the fatness of their life, the substance of their life, the things that they have in excess. Verse 13 specifically here, and I know it's talking about the people compassing about, being greedy and lurking, talking about Saul hunting down David. But verse 13, arise, O Lord, and he says, deliver my soul. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down by delivering my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Talking about Saul being the one who God had raised up, who is your raised up leader over Israel. Arise, O Lord, and deliver my soul. And anytime we find ourselves in a tough situation, this is the cry that we ought to give out to God. Arise and deliver my soul. He talks more about how awful Saul is and says, as for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. When I come before you, God, I will have my conscience clear. I will be right and righteous before you. I shall be satisfied when I awake with your likeness. I will be satisfied. I will be fulfilled. I will have your joy, because when I awake, I will be living in your likeness. We are meant in this world to live like God. We are meant in this world to live holy. It doesn't mean to live as high and as mighty and as lofty as God. We can't do that. But to live holy and righteous before the Lord, to live with our conscience clear, knowing that all the things that we have done have been with a right spirit, right attitude, right intentions. So when we call out to God for deliverance, we can come to Him knowing if we've kept our spirit clear, if we've kept our conscience clear, if we've kept our lives in righteousness, we can come to Him being satisfied, knowing that when we say to Him, arise, He will deliver our soul. Whenever we come to Him and call upon Him, as verse 6, we will be able to see His loving kindness and His salvation. Whenever He comes to prove our hearts, we will be able to be sure that He won't find anything wrong, that we have made that purpose and made things right in our lives, and that He will keep our paths, He will keep our goings, as verse 5 says, and that's one that I really love. Hold up my goings in thy paths, that my footsteps slip not. We will know that if we've done our best to keep ourselves clear before Him and called out to Him for the help, because without His help we can't do it. Humanly we don't have the power. We do not have the ability within ourselves to do it ourselves. Without Him we can do nothing. But if we call out to Him and He gives us the help and the aid that we need, we will stand strong. We will not slip. We will not fall if we trust in Him. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, give it a like. Comment down below if you have any things that you want to add to, talk about, discuss, or even argue with me about. I'm fine with that. I love having good debates as long as they're in the right spirit. Share this video with a friend, and check back again a little later, hopefully tomorrow, for another daily devotion with Pastor Joe. In the meantime, God bless. I hope you have a wonderful day in the Lord. I'll see you later on Daily Devotions with Pastor Joe.